Sometimes to understand a religion or a person or a philosophy, you have to suspend your own personal reality and try and get into the mindset, into the head of the subject you're studying. And so today, we're going to go just a little bit off the rails and pretend that we are becoming Muslims. And we'll take a quick look at last night's results in Utah and Arizona and what it means for Donald Trump and for Ted Cruz. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
I'm not even going to spend any time on it because for me personally, as a host, as an American, as somebody who understands the threat of Islam, it is so repulsive and offensive to me to see President Obama at a baseball game doing the wave with communist dictators while blood is still drying in Belgium. It's unthinkable that he didn't just cancel this and say, I've got to go back to America. I need to huddle with my national security team, whatever. It's inconceivable to me. And that's it. That's all I'm going to discuss. This president is an embarrassment, and he's too uneducated. He's too unsophisticated. He's too foolish. He's too unethical to know that he should be embarrassed. In a moment, we're going to suspend reality and put ourselves into the mind of a Muslim. And it's going to be a very interesting exercise. For some of you, it'll be a little bit troubling, but listen to me. It will be worth the exercise, because then at least it will make sense. Why would these two brothers kill themselves in order to kill non-Muslims? Why would a mother raise her children to do this? Why would mothers in the Middle East rejoice and say, my sons are bridegrooms today? We're going to do this exercise. We're going to get inside of their head. But first, I need to quickly talk about American politics. As you probably know by now, Jeb Bush has endorsed Ted Cruz. I like Ted Cruz. I like him a lot. I loathe Jeb Bush. I mean, not as one Christian to another, but I mean his politics, his history, his cowardice, his treachery. So what we see happening is the establishment is rallying behind Cruz as their last hope to stop Trump. Now, if you are a regular viewer of this show, you know that I called Arizona. I made the prediction that Cruz would do really well in Utah and that he would beat Trump in Arizona. I predicted that last night was going to be a bad night for Donald Trump. I was wrong. Most late-breaking voters in this election cycle, the polls show, have gone to Ted Cruz. And as we came into the Arizona primary, Trump was ahead 10, 12 points. And there was a lot of speculation that with the 30 some odd percent that were undecided, that Ted Cruz could do a surprise upset. It went the other way. Trump slaughtered him, took all the delegates, obviously, but more importantly, beat him by, the last number I saw was well over 20 points. So what it showed was that the attack in Brussels helped sway the voter, the thinker. Like, if I have to choose between Trump and Cruz being in charge of defeating ISIS, I pick Trump. So, you know, some people are saying, well, it was really a great night for Cruz because he took Utah, and it was a great night for Trump because he took Arizona. Listen to me, all right? Utah is not reflective of the country. I mean, no disrespect whatsoever to Ted Cruz, but listen to me. Utah is about Mitt Romney and Glenn Beck. The end. That's it. Utah is overwhelmingly Mormon. All right? Mitt Romney is a Mormon. Glenn Beck is a Mormon. And Utah loves Mitt Romney. So if Mitt Romney says to his Mormon followers, his Mormon fellows, his fellow Mormons, vote for Ted Cruz, they're going to do it. All right? So there is no surprise that Ted Cruz won, and this is what's the most important takeaway. It is not in any way reflective of the rest of the country. When this race goes to New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, when it goes to the Northeast, Donald Trump is going to trounce Ted Cruz. Okay? So I made the prediction that Trump would lose Arizona last night. He, in fact, won, which, if you look at the delegate count now, puts him in the driver's seat. It's going to be almost impossible for Ted Cruz to catch him. What this means is that the establishment is going to do everything they can to see that Donald Trump does not hit the magic number of 1237. So they're frantic. They're on the phone. Jeb Bush, think this through with me. Jeb Bush, the establishmentarian, he endorsed Cruz. That means that it's all bets are off. They want Cruz to stop Trump. They know that Cruz cannot catch him. There's no way. Donald Trump is going to carry New York. He's going to carry California. So what they got to hope for is that in some of the proportional states that are left, and maybe a few of the states that have a fairly conservative Republican base, that Cruz can get enough delegates to stop Trump. And at that point, they take the first ballot. Nobody's the winner. Then the question is, in the second ballot, when people are freed up, does Jeb Bush honor his endorsement and say, all right, let's all vote for Cruz now? Does Lindsey Graham say, let's vote for Cruz now? Or do they say, Ted, you've served your purpose. Let's turn all eyes to John Kasich, who is a real insider. And he could be the one that they want all along. This might just be a way for them to stall Trump and then to get Kasich. We'll see what happens. But it was a big night for Ted Cruz with the Utah win. But again, it's not reflective of the country. It's a much bigger win for Donald Trump. In American Samoa, they each got one delegate. The Virgin Islands has gotten into a spitting match with itself over what delegates are going to be seated. So that literally is still unstable and unknown. It looks like each Cruz and Trump got one each, and Rubio got two. I don't know, but this I know. The momentum is with Trump, and this explosion, these terrorist attacks in Belgium have all but solidified a Donald Trump presidency. That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. I will be back in a minute to suspend reality. And by the way, if you don't like the reality of Donald Trump being the president, to work your heart out for Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a great man. All right? I'm not here to endorse or not endorse. I'm here to call balls and strikes as I see them. All right? That's what I'm seeing. And what I'm also seeing is that if you look at the words of Muhammad and try and put yourself into that mindset, then there's a few things that naturally follow. So get ready. If you've got a seatbelt on your couch or on your chair, buckle in, because we're going to try and put ourselves into the mind of Islam. If you own a business and would like to advertise on our program, please contact us. We are currently seen on over 130 television stations from coast to coast. We air at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then all times are local. We have a lot of reach, friend, and this is an opportunity at a great price for you to get your product or your service in front of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. Also, if there's something that's important to you and you'd like to have a month where you just say thank you to this ministry or promote a certain ministry or a certain cause, contact us. Our rates are incredibly affordable. You'd be surprised. And you, again, can reach into hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of homes. We're currently seen possibly in over 30 million homes. So give us a call, give us an email, and we'll put a commercial up for you. This is a test. For the next few minutes, the emergency broadcast system of your brain is going to conduct a test. We're going to suspend reality for a moment, all right? And I'm going to ask you the question, what if? What if Muhammad was the last prophet, the seal of the prophets, as he called himself? Now, I'm going to explain to you what that means and the most simple structure of Islam. But before I do, and before we put ourselves in that and say, okay, I am now going to become a Muslim, therefore, what does that mean for me? Before we do that exercise, I know it's a little troubling for some of us, but just stay with me. Some of you just watch. Some of you just watch, okay? I can see people that are getting creeped out. All right, just stay with me. But I want to explain something that's really important. There are many people in the press, many people in the general public, many people in government and public policy and in law enforcement who have failed or deliberately refused to differentiate between Islam and a Muslim. Did you know that there's a difference? A Muslim is an individual. Islam is a religion, a political and juridical school of thought. It involves politics and governance. It involves punishment of crimes. It has a foreign policy. It's a comprehensive, soup to nuts blueprint for what is right and wrong, good and evil, and what a society should look like under one Islamic ruler called a caliph. All right? This is, and by the way, there's a verse in the Bible that says, let the lips of another praise thee and not thy own. So if I'm sinning right now, please forgive me. I'm not trying to. I'm really not. But I want to say one quick parenthesis. I know what I'm talking about because I've studied this stuff for over 10 years. I have a master's degree from a military school, Norwich University, in diplomacy and international terrorism. And the bulk of my research for my master's degree was in Islamic terrorism. So when I watch newscasters, I can tell immediately who knows and who doesn't know what they're talking about. And most of them have no clue what they're talking about. They're clueless. And so they invite specialists on the air who are equally clueless and then say idiotic things like, the reason we have terrorism is because of the economic inequities in the Middle East, or because of the poverty and the lack of jobs with young Muslim males in the Middle East. It's absurd. It's laughable. It's just not true. And it shows that they're trying to put their view of terrorism through the grid that they've studied. So if they've studied economics or communist or Marxist or socialist economics, they view the whole world through that grid. And they try and say, well, yeah, what it's really about is poverty. Never mind that so many of the leaders of Al-Qaeda were wealthy, highly educated, physicians. Never mind that. It's a suspension of truth about Islam because they're trying to force the behavior of certain Muslims through their grid, through the understanding that they have. All right? So you have to differentiate between a Muslim and Islam, just like you could differentiate between a Christian and Christianity. A Christian could do a lot of bad things, okay? Someone who professes faith in Christ can steal, rob, kill. I mean, they could just break all the commandments, okay? We've seen it. King David, a man after God's own heart, committed adultery and murder, okay? Peter, upon this rock I'll build my church, denied the Lord with cursing and swearing. So we can see that good people, individuals, can do bad things. That does not define the religion of Christianity. Do you understand the difference? So we're going to look at Islam, not individual Muslims. When we study Islam, Islam gets to define itself. For example, let me take it out of Islam. If you want to study Roman Catholicism, You don't learn it from Protestants. You learn it from Catholics. You let Catholicism speak for itself. You study the Council of Nicaea, right? Nicaea 1 and 2. You study the Council of Ephesus. Do you understand? You study the Council of Trent, because these are the bodies of thought and history that are unique to the Catholic Church and to the Orthodox Church. Many of them are to the Orthodox Church as well. They get to speak for themselves. You don't get to choose what you wish it was. You have to let Catholicism speak for itself. You study Augustine. You study Thomas Aquinas. That's it, all right? If you want to study what it means to be a Baptist, you study Charles Spurgeon and other Anabaptists of the era. Do you understand? You want to study Presbyterianism, you study John Calvin, John Knox, all right? If you're going to understand Islam, then you must study Muhammad, his words, his behavior, and let him and the first generations of Muslims speak for themselves. So we're going to do that little exercise when I come back from this break. We're going to jump right in, okay? But please understand, calm down. There's a difference between a Muslim and an Islam, the religion of Islam. Some Muslims are devout and they really follow it. Some Muslims aren't. They'll drink beer, they'll eat pork. They're Muslims because they have a profession. And we'll tell what that is. We'll begin at the beginning and then say, okay, what if we convert? What if you and I convert to become really, really devout Muslims and followers of Muhammad? What does that mean? Can you say the word terror? Friend, this program is supported by friends like you who believe in what we are doing. We run a very tight ship. Thankfully, we are on over 130 stations across the country, having tremendous impact. We get emails every day. We get letters in the mail, not every day, but almost every day. We hear from people who love what we're doing. What people don't understand is that it's sort of expensive to produce a television show like this. It doesn't require earth-shattering funds, but it does require financial help. So I am asking you, if you enjoy this program, throw us a $10 or a $20 bill every once in a while, or even a $50 or a $100 check. You see the address there on the screen. Your gifts are not tax deductible, by the way, because we want to be able to say what we want to say regarding politics without the IRS telling us no. So if you like the program, I ask for your support. Terror. Muhammad spoke often of the use of terror to convert people and to ensure that none but Allah was worshipped. The sword and terror were used constantly in Muhammad's words and in his deeds. So if you come to the conclusion that Jesus was a great prophet, he was born of a virgin, but he wasn't the Son of God. He wasn't God incarnate. John the Baptist was a great prophet. David was a great prophet. Moses was a great prophet. Abraham, a great prophet. If you come to the conclusion that all of them were great prophets and that Muhammad was the last great prophet, the seal of the prophets who had come to correct the errors of time, then you say, I'm going to become a Muslim. What does correct the errors of time mean? Muhammad taught his followers that the Jews were the recipients of the Word of God, the law of God. But then the rabbis and the priests corrupted it. Yeah, they changed it, left things out, added things. Muhammad taught his followers, Jesus really did receive the evangel, the gospel. He was a prophet of God. But then Paul, the apostle, and other followers of Jesus corrupted the monks, the priests. They corrupted the texts. And so God sent Muhammad. Muhammad said, God sent me to correct these errors, to correct these corruptions, and to be the seal of the prophets, the last one. To seal it, to close the book. Muhammad said, I'm it. I'm the end of the line. There's no more prophets after me. Listen to what he said. Now, if you believe that, then you make a profession. You say, it's called the Shahada. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. That's it. There's no baptism. You say those words in the presence of one Muslim witness. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. So if you believe that Muhammad is the messenger of God, the final messenger, the one who got it absolutely right, then it follows that you follow Muhammad's example, that you believe in his words and his deeds, that you follow the Quran. And that brings us to terror and the sword. Listen to these words of Muhammad. I have been sent with the sword in my hands so that only Allah may be worshipped. Allah, who placed my livelihood under the shadow of my spear and who condemns those who disobey my orders to servility and humiliation. Now, Muhammad said, I've been sent with the sword in my hands. Muhammad did, in fact, kill someone with his own hand, but for the most part, he didn't do the killing. He ordered others to do the killing. So if you are going to become a devout Muslim, then you have a duty to do Muhammad's bidding. Well, he's dead. How do we know what he would have us do? Oh, he left a very extensive record. He left a pattern, one that is to stay until the end of time. And it involves these words, I have been sent with a sword in my hands so that none but Allah is worshipped. He's talking about forcing people to worship Allah and killing them if they try and worship other gods, or making them slaves, putting them in servitude if they try and worship the Trinity. So if you're a devout Muslim, then you're called to carry out those orders, to take the sword, the mechanism, the weapon of death, to ensure that only Allah is worshipped. That's what it means in part to be a devout Muslim. I'll be right back. I want to invite you to go to our website. Almost every book that I have ever written is available as a PDF online for free. We have a ton of products, training materials, tools that are available for you for free. All we ask for is that you give us your email address. That's it, so that we can stay in touch with you, and yes, from time to time, ask you to support this work. So I'm inviting you, go to the website. Now, for those of you who say, well, I don't want a PDF, I want a real book. You can get one of my books. All you have to do is pay for shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift you want. And if you can't afford anything, we'll send you the book for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Why are we doing all this? Because we want to change the direction of the country, and we need to raise up a fresh generation of warriors to do that. That's why we have this tool. I invite you, go to the website, see for yourself. If you are a Muslim, you must believe that the Quran is the embodiment of the exact words of God. It is the word of God. Perfect. And there's a copy in heaven that's exactly that. Listen to what the Muslims believe is the perfect book. Listen to what that book says about the use of terror. Remember thy Lord inspired the angels with the message, I am with you. Give firmness to the believers. I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. Smite ye above their necks and smite all their fingertips off them. Here's another verse. Against them make ready your strength to the utmost of your power, including steeds of war, to strike terror into the hearts of the enemies of Allah and your enemies, and others besides, whom ye may not know, but whom Allah doth know. And then this from Muhammad's lips. I have been given superiority over the other prophets. I have been made victorious with terror cast in the hearts of the enemy. He's talking about, all these passages are talking about, I've got the sword in my hand to ensure no one but Allah is worshipped. So a devout Muslim is somebody who is going to try and strike terror into people's hearts so that they only worship Allah, because that's what the Quran and Muhammad taught. We'll continue this tomorrow.